1 second, John.
Does anybody know if John's coming?
She's right there. She got some theme music. Okay. Hi. Good evening. I'm going to call the September 10th, 2024 finance meeting to order. Roll call. I'm present. We have Councilmember Moskowitz, Councilmember Delarada, Councilmember Brennan, Councilmember McPartland, County Attorney Finnan. The department heads are present. We have Chief Cochin, we have Michelle Marinelli, I saw her, we have Laura Robertson, Ray Smith, Matt Vieto, Lori Ferretti, Assistant Comptroller Janet Wynn, and some members of the town. All right. Moving along, minutes, may I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes from, see, we have the July 9th, 2024 meeting and the August 13th, 2024 finance meeting minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes from July and August meetings.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Any changes to those minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
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 All right. Any opposition? No? All right.
Mr. Deputy Supervisor, can I just say, I just want to say thank you to Dottie Gillen for getting those minutes together for me in like record time yesterday so that you guys had them. So I'm sorry, on Friday.
All right. Duly noted. That's great. She has a nice thick Boston accent, so I would try to bring that up to her, but she's great. All right, so those minutes were approved. We'll now move on to items for action.
Thank you. First, we have a resolution to enter into a contract with CB20 for managed help desk.
So I was asked to reach out to CB20, who is a managed service provider. That's a fancy way of saying an outsourced IT company. We've worked with them in the past for years. And we recently purchased a $10,000 retainer from them before my time here. So with all that said, I was asked to reach out to look for them for their outsourced help desk to help provide backup for the town and things of that nature. So they came back with a 1-year contract. Usually it's 3 years. I got them to do 1. And we worked them down to just under $2,900 a month. And what we get with that is first line of defense for the help for computer repair stuff. People can't print, they go to them, things of that nature. So we pay for a couple of things that we could not pay for anymore to kind of keep the cost down a little bit. We pay for something called Ninja One, which is our personal remote control and central management software. That's $325 a month. So that's about $3,900 a year. And that would go away if we get into this contract with CB20. Let's see here. We have, out of the $10,000 retainer, I was able to get what's left, which is $9,352. And they're willing to allow us to use that money to pay for the managed help desk contract. So that means there's about 3 months that we've already paid for that we can leverage for that. So with all that said, that would bring the first year's total with just using the retainer to $25,794. And then if we subtract the additional savings we would incur by getting rid of the Ninja One platform, we're down to $21,894 for the year of that contract. So I think this would be good for the town. It provides backup for me. If I become incapacitated or something happens, they're there. They already know everything. They're on all of our accounts and things of that nature. What that would do for me would be allow me to really dig into the IT infrastructure here and give it some love, for lack of a better term. Things need a refresh. We're at that point in our time where things are 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, and they're starting to complain. So it'd be nice to have the little bit of help for at least a year to get my arms around everything and to try to put the town in a better position moving forward.
Could you say again how much the Ninja One is per month?
$325 a month around. Every time we add a new computer, it goes up by like $7.
So we used this organization before, Josh, is that what you're saying?
Those are the ones that came in and did the audit in May, I believe, that walked around and did everything. And I think you used them a couple times in the absence of an IT professional here.
And can
So
you
they're
re-
familiar with our environment. They know a couple people already. We've been using them for going on 5 years now for our offsite backup. They provided the cloud storage for that.
Would they still do that?
Yes,
Okay.
we still do that right now.
So they'd provide cloud, and then they would essentially be kind of like, if there's any IT issues, go to them first. So that way, then you can kind of focus in on the bigger project of updating town hall to be more modern with its technology.
Correct. Make everything work together. The public works area is relatively new in the town as far as infrastructure wise, and it's a little bit more involved. So it adds a little bit of extra burden on what was traditionally in the past. And I believe that's probably 2-ish years new to the town with how it's set up.
Could you give me that final number again after we take off that 9,000-ish and then take off the 325 a month-ish?
Yeah, based on my quick little, like, I call it napkin math.
Yeah.
$21,894.
And how do they help? Are they a virtual support or do they come physically to the building?
However we want. We get, I have the contract. I will run some off and give them to you. I did attach it to my initial request for the meeting. They give us up to 30 or 35 incidents a month, and they say that's flexible. And they're basically like a filter for me and the rest of the IT department. Doesn't mean that if someone knocks on my door, I'm going to say, call CB20, but I may, if I have other things going on.
Right.
Josh, how many times, I know it probably varies, but how many times a day or a week do you have an issue where someone can't use their computer or someone can't print where we could utilize this service?
So I've been keeping track, and it's about 5 or 6 times a week where my day gets a little sideways because I walk in the door and someone can't do 3 things they really need.
Are you always, so it's average maybe once a day or so?
Yeah, I'd say so.
And you're always able to help them when they need it? I mean, if they have to wait an hour, but you're able to fix their concern right away usually?
Usually, yes. Sometimes they have to wait, or sometimes there's something a bigger fire to put out,
Okay.
things of that nature.
If this was done for a 1-year contract, do you think that would give enough time to let you kind of dig in and sink your teeth into a bigger project of updating everything here? Or?
I think so. I do. There's quite a bit of big projects to do. This isn't the time, I think, to discuss things of that nature, but yeah.
I think I know as a board, we've discussed that it would be good to have a emergency backup plan. God forbid you couldn't work all of a sudden and no one else knew our system very well. And this seems like a reasonable price compared to hiring an actual
Yeah, so
new
if you,
person with all the benefits and insurance and salaries and
right, if you Google entry-level IT person, you come back with generally in the $50,000 range. That's not including, what, Councilman Brennan just said. So there's some additional costs there as well on the back end. And the town has been blessed with Detective Kafaga, who really picked up the slack in that absence.
Yep.
Hopefully he's here if the next time happens. But this will just set up the town, I think, for a safety net at the very least.
So this could serve almost as like an assistant
Yep. If
for
we have a big
less of the
project-
price than actually bringing in one person.
Correct.
Okay. And for the cloud, do you know how much they would charge for just cloud services so we can get an idea of what it would be? Because you said they already do the cloud. So how much it would be from the cloud services to this next level?
So I think I need to be a little more clear there. So the cloud services we currently have with them are just for our backup. So we take essentially like a picture of all of our data, and then we upload it into a Microsoft Azure tenant, the cloud. which CB20 set up for us. And we pay them, it's $400 a month. I think we just paid the bill.
Yeah, roughly 4 or 5, I think.
And that just provides, in case something happens to our aging infrastructure here, I have another place to go get all of our stuff when we get new hardware. So that would still stay the same.
And I'd like to add that you forgot to mention that Josh has really been working with me trying to take some of the implementation of the accounting system off of my shoulders, which has been greatly appreciated because I am not an IT person and I spend hours on the phone with Munis sometimes when something goes wrong. And we're working together. We've got a long way to go, but he's jumped right in and taken some of that off of me. And I feel like that's really important too, right? Because we don't need somebody in the finance department trying to fix a remote server for Munis.
No, we don't need that.
No.
So then I guess using, just writing quick. So 400 a month for that kind of cloud service and 375 for the Ninja One. So that's 775. So we can almost, no?
No, forget about the 400 a month.
Okay.
That's a totally separate
Okay.
contract that wouldn't even be on the table.
Then, all right.
What it would be is 325 a month, or it's roughly 3,900 a year. That was our last year's bill with Ninja One. That would come off.
Okay.
And then the other thing that maybe you're getting a little bit, you're thinking there's two, is because we can use the retainer for the first 3 months.
Got it. Okay.
And then we would have like $1,200 left of that retainer. And we can just keep that in the back pocket in case, I need help with something, consulting services. So any more information I'm happy to give. I just wanted to bring it to the board's attention and get it on the books.
This may be a question more for Elena, but what's the status of our shared services agreement with Rotterdam? Is that still in effect?
Technically, yes. We have not utilized their services since we entered into that agreement.
But if we needed their IT department for something, we do have access to them still.
Potentially.
Okay.
It's a little bit complicated, but we entered into the agreement and then we never really had
Never acted
him
on it?
come in. He's not familiar with our systems,
Okay.
as far as I know. So
And there's no cost to that agreement with Rotterdam, or there is?
there's no cost. I mean, when we entered into that agreement initially, the idea was that they would essentially come in and fill in if there was like a vacation, a week off or something like that, not to get totally familiar with our system, to be able to, God forbid something happened to Josh, be able to really step in and help. There'd be more or less just to get us by for the week while there was a vacation.
Thank you.
All right.
I'm
We
good.
used Detective Kafaga instead of Rotterdam, basically. He was our backup system.
And while we appreciate that, that's not his job. That's
That
not what he
is
was
not.
hired to do. So we really stepped up in a time of need, but I don't want everybody relying on Detective Kafaga to fulfill IT needs.
No, we do
Going
not
forward.
want that.
All right. Any
Thanks,
other
Josh.
questions or
Cool.
discussion?
Thanks. Oh,
All right, the next is a brief discussion regarding recording committee meetings and staffing in the IT department. So as Josh just said, being alone, I feel like there's a lot on his shoulders right now with being a new person. And what we had talked about, and this is just something I'd like the board to entertain, would be for somebody on each committee to be able to just record their own, push the button to record their own meeting instead of we're pulling him out of meetings or pulling him in at night, to just come in and hit record when the student interns aren't available. And I think that's reasonable. I think, our department heads can handle that. We talked about maybe drafting up something like dummy proof to make sure that we can all actually operate it. And I just wanted to make sure that the board didn't have an issue with that, or that the department heads don't have an issue with that. But I feel like, to have to pull him in for every meeting to record it is a little much when he's trying to take all this other stuff on and everything's just thrown at him and he's not, overly familiar with everything. He's in my office every day, aren't you?
I am.
It's okay.
I mean, as long as the meetings are being recorded, I don't see an issue
Yeah.
with who pushes the record button.
And most of the meetings happen in the Shaper Room, so we could probably have something there laminated, taped down.
I'm more than
Instructions.
willing to also produce that if needed.
Listen, I got my phone set up to my car. If I can do that, I think everyone can set up other. Yeah.
Thanks, Josh.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Thanks, Josh.
The next is finance approval to pay the annual Sims bill. Laura?
So this is just our annual contribution to the county GIS database. that's available to all of the municipalities within Schenectady County and all of our residents. It's $5,500. So it exceeds my authority, but we do pay it every year and is important both to the adjacent communities and to our residents to be able to access GIS data, which is a geographic information systems. That's a map. Sorry, sometimes
You beat
I
me.
live in my acronym world. It's an online mapping system.
Well, you beat me to my question. I was going to ask.
Is that the one that your department uses?
No, actually, my department uses ArcGIS, which has a little bit more ability to make flexible maps. But we do use Sims to make our buffers for mailing out because Sims is directly connected to a mailing list. And it's actually also directly connected into the like the assessor's office. So you can click on a parcel and then get a lot of information about it quickly. So if you've never used it before, just type in Sims, SIMS Schenectady in your web browser, and it'll be the first thing that pops up. And it's highly useful.
What does SIM stands for?
Schenectady Internet Mapping System. You could also put that in Google. It'll also work.
I believe the comptroller has access to that program as well.
So everyone does. It's
Yeah.
completely open to the public. If you want some extra layers, you can put in a password that they give the local municipalities, top secret. Not at all. But even if you don't have the password, you've got parcel data, you've got wetlands data, you've got topography. It's very, very useful.
And the other localities, they are
All
part of
pay
this too?
too.
Okay.
Yeah, they pay into like a consortium and it's run by Schenectady County.
Thanks, Laura.
Oh, all right. So we'll vote on that. Yeah. So do we go down the line for that vote or just ayes? Okay. All right. So we'll vote on that. All in favor? Say
Aye.
Aye. Aye. All right. Any opposition? No? All right. So approved.
Okay, the next is a discussion regarding certain budgetary modifications. I say this every month, right? They're in the works, putting them together. I'll have them to the board. I think what I'm going to do is try to send them out to you guys a little bit early this month, just because there's so much going on and, with descriptions, so that if there's any questions, you can ask before the actual meeting. Make a note to myself to do that.
All right.
And this is the typical, right? It's September. We're getting to the point where, we've had emergencies and we've had different things going on. And it's just, it'll just be me moving money from one budget to another, to cover certain expenditures.
All right. Yeah. If you can get that to us, that'd be great.
Also, we have a discussion to schedule budget hearing sessions.
I don't have the dates. You have the date?
The calendars were emailed out, right? Or the possible dates were
They were not.
emailed?
Yes.
It's October 15th and October 24th.
Okay. Perfect.
That's what I have.
Yeah.
Yes, the 24th, I don't think John could do, so the other option was to do it on the 8th, a couple before finance and maybe one after the agenda meeting. And split it up since we're gonna all be here that day anyways.
So that was October 8th, October 15th, and
John's not available on the 24th, so to make sure that everybody could be here, that's the only other possible date I think that this room's available.
Right.
Based on everybody's schedules as they email.
When did we want to do it on the 8th? After?
So
Or-
usually we do them in 3-hour blocks. And I believe 4:30 is probably the earliest, I think, that the board members can do it. So we were thinking potentially 4:30 to 6:30. And then do finance at 6:30, agenda at 7, and then follow up with the remainder for that day. Or we could go longer on the 15th.
I could do the 8th.
We might want to split it up. That's a lot. That's a long period of time, but
Do you want to just do?
I'm available then.
Three and a half. Because we don't usually use up all the time.
We
right?
don't. We
So
block
why don't
out
we-
bigger time than we need sometimes.
Why don't we try for 2 hours on the 8th before the agenda meeting? So then
Okay.
or before the finance meeting, so then once the agenda meeting's done, we're done. And then maybe add a half hour on to the 15th, so it's a little bit longer, but not a whole hour longer.
Was it the 15th or 24th?
The
The 15th, John can't do the 24th.
15th, everybody said that they were available.
Is that
Yeah.
4:15 or 4:30?
4:30, I believe. No, maybe
Everyone
it
do
was
4:30?
4:15.
Or 15.
4:15 is best? Okay.
So the 8th is 4:30?
Yes.
All right, so we'll get an email out about that with it, and everybody can confirm on that again. I think it's a good
Everybody
way to
needs to
do it.
confirm, and then we need to figure out with the department heads who can do what time and which dates.
Right, okay. I like it when you send the emails and then everybody confirms.
Yeah. All right. I'll send an email out since I have them right here. So I'll send that email out to everybody.
Okay, I have 2 items to add from the floor quickly. Matt Yetto had a Granite Net Basic to Premium Inspection Upgrade quote for $5,200.
So this is software that we use in our TV sewer camera truck for inspecting sewers. It uses GIS, like Laura mentioned earlier, to catalog all of our inspections. We have inspections going back 15 years from our first truck, and we just migrated over to our new truck. When we purchased the truck, we bought the basic version. We were told that that would be adequate. We don't like the functionality of the basic, so I want to upgrade to the premium version, which would give us the full functionality that we need in the field. And the cost is $5,200 for the software. It was a $246,000 truck, so it's a minor increase, but it really gives us a lot more flexibility on how we utilize it in the field. Otherwise, when the crew would take a video, do an inspection, it just logs the inspection. They have to go back to the office to look at things and get the information off of it. By upgrading to the premium, they have access to the data that they collect in the field, so they can make decisions without having running back to the office, and it's much more usable, much more user friendly as well. I have money in capital projects for it as well.
This is for repairs as well?
No, it's just an upgrade. It's just a software.
No, I mean, like, you'd be inspecting to make a repair?
Yeah, so we inspect all of our sewers. We don't get to, there's hundreds of miles of sewer. We don't get anywhere near all the sewers in a given year. But certain prone areas, we do regular inspections. And we also like to catalog and watch the progress over time, how things have changed, root control, leaks, things like that. We monitor.
Does this need finance approval or?
Yes.
All right. Before we vote, any further questions, further discussion? No? So just so I understand, so right now as it stands, if they went out in the field, work around the field, they'd have to come all the way back to town hall to kind of take their information, get more information, and then go back to make the decision. Whereas this software will allow them to essentially do the research or whatever they would do at town hall
Yeah.
in that vehicle.
Yeah, it's merely set up for organizations that have fleets of trucks,
Mhm.
and they just send a bunch of guys out just to go out and do blind inspections. So just record, and then someone sits back in the office and reviews it all. We don't function that way. Our crews are more trained. They make decisions in the field. So this gives them that ability.
All right. So for approval, all those in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Any opposition? All right.
Thanks,
So
Ben.
moved.
The chief asked to briefly add something from the floor, exploring apprenticeship opportunities through SUNY.
Great job. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
We were recently notified, there's actually, I think there's a press release being done today. SUNY, in conjunction with SEC, worked with the New York State Department of Labor to title the police officer position as an apprenticeship position. What that means is it opened a funding stream through SUNY for anyone that's attending the Zone 5 Regional Law Enforcement Academy to apply under the apprenticeship program to receive college credits for the training that they're already taking as a police officer at the Zone 5 Academy, up to 30 college credits. In conjunction with that, and let me preface this by saying I'm not an expert in this yet. I'm trying to obtain more information. In conjunction with that, There's also support for the recruits, including tutors, laptops, and counseling, because they would now be a student at SEC in conjunction with being an employee of the town of Niskuna and going to the Zone 5 Regional Law Enforcement Academy. And apparently there's also a grant through the New York State Department of Labor whereby the town could apply to get grant funding for their actual wages. Now, the reason I bring this up, it sounds too good to be true. I don't have all the information yet, but Schenectady's already agreed to partner. They currently have 7 people out of their 9 recruits have decided to apply for this. Rotterdam is also signed up through them. It was presented to the board of directors at the Zone 5 Regional Law Enforcement Academy this past Friday. They would be able to backdate our 2 current recruits if the town was willing to opt into this. There is some sort of standardized agreement whereby we would have to, you folks would have to approve us being able to sign it. And again, my understanding is there's no financial obligation or burden to the town of Niskuna. We sign the agreement, we set them up with SUNY, and they work through the process from there. And to think about them coming out with 30 college credits, that's a pretty incredible thing. So that's all the information I have at this time. I can answer any questions that you may have that I may have the information for.
Is there anything online like where we could do our own independent research on it? Is there something you could send our
I can
way?
send, I sent something to Elena. I can send out the brochure that was provided to me. I emailed the point of contact tonight requesting further information. So
There was a news release on that this evening
yes,
on Channel 6. I kind of thought I might have seen you on that.
that was
You
not
weren't.
me. I was not there.
I know. I
That
was
not
looking
there.
for you.
That was not.
But no, I didn't get to listen to the entire story, but it did sound like a very worthwhile program and something that I think we definitely want to be involved in.
Absolutely.
College
So-
credits at no cost. Yep.
So Chief, that's 30 college credits?
Yeah, so it's up to 30 college credits. There's currently 10 recognized courses through the academy that they've worked towards within SEC to recognize for college credits. You know, some of the questions that came up, well, what if I don't need, 30 college courses or I already have those classes? There's actually, it's $6,000 per apprentice. They would then have the opportunity to utilize it for furthering their education to go actually take classes at SEC. So like I said, there's a lot of really good upside to what this appears to be. There is some back-end things that will need to be done because under an apprenticeship program, you have to have a set number of hours of on-the-job training. Essentially, what's being explained to me is our FTO program that we already operate would account for those on-the-job training hours that would then be signed off by our FTOs through the department, and that would suffice for the paperwork.
That's a great economic value for anybody taking that course.
It makes sense not only for the candidate, but makes sense for us.
Yeah.
We want people that are educated and we want them to further their education. And if
Who's
we can
it-
do that.
Who's the grant through again?
So this is not a grant.
Okay.
This is through SUNY working with New York State Department of Labor. The grant that I described
Yeah.
is a separate thing that the town could apply for. I would apply for to see if we could get reimbursement of wages under the apprenticeship program through the New York State Department of Labor.
Department of Labor. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, thanks so much.
Thank you, Chief Cochin. That's it. All right. Yeah. So I have one thing to add from the floor. So discussion about the town considering appointing an assistant comptroller to help with the transition and search for the new comptroller, and to even beyond that, further aid the comptroller's office going forward in the future. So wanted to have some discussion about that. If anyone has questions, anything. You know, essentially having, in it, almost like we talked about with IT, having someone who can kind of fill in now while we're trying to go through this transition and look for a new comptroller, especially with budget season coming on, and help with day-to-day things. And even when we get that new comptroller, they could continue to help out if there's ever a gap. So that's something we're considering.
How is this position? Could I ask questions?
Yeah.
Okay. How is this position related to Janet's position? How would those?
So it's a title change that would allow me to continue to do the day-to-day business that the comptroller signs off on. Currently, I have Bill McPartland signing off on all the claims for the town. He comes in and signs a stack about like that for me every 2 weeks. So right now, claims are touching 4 hands: the accounts payable clerk, takes them in from the departments and audits them. They come to me for further audit. They go to the town clerk for further audit, and then Bill comes in and signs them as a representative of the town board. This would allow me to just sign off on them. It's the way the town law, I believe, is written. There's certain titles that can do that.
Okay.
And so what it essentially does is takes out to the controller, because that civil service views that differently.
So it wouldn't be someone you'd be working with, it would be you.
It would be me.
Right.
Okay.
Janet's already basically been doing it, so it's sort of a title change and hoping to streamline our processes a little bit. As you know, we all discussed a town board member, me going in and signing out, which is fine, and I told Janet,
Yeah.
don't do that.
Anything.
And I
Joe
need to
and
continue to do
Bill
it.
have been great.
We don't want to give her any more work, but she's already been doing a lot of work helping us out. But this little change is gonna help us stay in compliance.
And
It
for-
prevents me from emailing Joe every time I need to move money or do a budget mod, or things like that, because, really I'm not in a position to do that right now, but it's what we need to do to keep the day-to-day operations going until we fill that position.
Just to kind of elaborate on that a little bit, this board approves the budget mods,
Yes,
but then to physically move the money, Janet can't do it without an additional step, whereas now without a comptroller, we have all these additional steps. And this would just kind of streamline that for the time being, and in the event we were ever in this position again, whoever's in this title would also have the ability to do it. So it doesn't take away the town board's approvals that it typically makes, it just alleviates that additional step that we currently have to do that we haven't had to do in the past, given the status of where we are.
So it's more like a procedural thing. It's not substantive. It's more procedural where it would still go through the process, but then since we don't have someone who can naturally move that money right now, it's had to go through 3 to 4 layers just to move the money after it's been approved.
Correct.
Okay. So it's like almost like a bucket brigade, like the buckets there with the
Just
water.
the
and we're
way
just
the law
passing
is
it.
written, and unless we get somebody in a title that can actually do that thing with the board's approval, then we have to do all these additional steps.
So
But
just
does-
that, sorry, just that simple title change would allow you to then act on whatever the board approves as soon as we approve it?
yes. So as an example, the budgetary modification resolution says the controller. Well, we don't have a controller. So I had to sit on budget mods until Elena said, oh, we can do it this way. So then we took all those extra steps to do them. And, that holds the departments up from processing bills because they can't push anything over budget, right? So until we do those, they're sitting on the bills, which puts my office behind because then they can't be audited, which puts Bill behind because then I'm calling him on Friday afternoon and saying, can you come in? And he does. But he came in on a holiday weekend for me on a Friday afternoon, and I was so appreciative. But I feel like we can tighten this up a lot and make it a lot more efficient.
Efficient, yeah.
With this, it also sounds like an increase in responsibility because you're not going to have all those other people checking and auditing the decisions. Is there also an increase in salary for this position?
That's a discussion the board has to have. That's not
There
up to me.
could be. That's up to the board.
I'm willing to do what we have to do to keep it afloat.
You're amazing.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
And then it sounds like this could even be something where when we get the new comptroller, if they were on vacation or out sick, it would allow for some functionality there as well. So we're not held up. Okay. All right. Any other questions, discussion? Again, just discussion for today. Okay. I guess that's everything on the finance agenda. The next finance committee meeting will be Tuesday, October 8th, at 6:30 p.m. As you heard, we're actually got something going on at 4:30 that day, but October 8th at 6:30 p.m. will be the next finance committee. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
All right, thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, the ayes have it. We are adjourned. And then what time is, so that's 5 minutes.